Hi guys, welcome to another video with me, Clarice. And in this video, we are continuing on in our second series of the flower color guide series, or flowers video tutorials, whatever you want to call it. And for this one, we are going to be doing the Gerbera daisy. And it's in one of my absolute favorite colors. So I hope you guys are excited. Not one, sorry, you get this color by mixing two of my favorite colors. So I'm going to quickly walk you through my supplies before we begin. So I've got the flower color guide book for reference, and we are at page 113. For my paper, I am using my Baohong 200 GSM. And then I've got a practice sheet. I keep neglecting to mention this in my supplies every time in the beginning of the video. We do require a basic practice sheet so I can show you guys the strokes and you can practice them before we actually begin. So that's what this is for, putting this aside. For brushes, I am using my Princeton number 6, number 8, and then I am using the glass pen again. I've got water ready onto the side over here, and then for colors I'm using my tried and true White Nights set of 36. I had to pause there for a moment because there's always so many names that come to mind. Lots of ums as well. And so we're ready. And so we're ready to begin. So for the flower, what we're going to be mixing is a combination of Titan Red, which is like a burnt orangey brown or brownish orange, whatever you want to call it, and then a little bit of carmine or ruby, whichever you please, and it gives you a nice corally shade. And you can add some white as well if you want to lighten it down. I'll leave that up to you. So I'm getting some of the Titan Red first, and then I'm going to get some of the carmine, mix that in, get a little bit more, there we go. Might have to adjust the ratios and then settle with what you feel works best for you. Getting a little bit of white and just adding it in there. All right, so we're ready to go. I'm going to start with the number 6 just to show you the strokes, and then you can practice those. So the first thing we want to do is making sure that the point or the tip of our brush is nice and pointed and is not holding a bunch of water. That's how you know it's not pointed, or sorry, that's how you know it's holding too much water, when the tip is not pointed and bloated because it's holding water, as I mentioned. So now that we know it's pointed, we're going to use the tip of our brush to create these nice thin edges of the petal, and then we don't really, I shouldn't say we don't really care how it ends, but because it comes to a center, I think it's okay if we let loose a little. So I am doing these petals, showing you these petals from the outside in. Okay, so here we go. We're not focusing on creating a flower just yet. Let me just get the strokes down for you, and then we'll do the flower. So using the tip, pressing down, trailing off. Dipping the tip of my brush in water, I'm going to create another one. And you can see how the tips of these petals are kind of all over the place. It's not straight, it's not uniform. So try and get a little bit of fun in there when you're doing these strokes. So do a couple of S's if you want, and you can perfect the edges as you go along. And then really press down your brush as you kind of create these. Notice how I got a nice little twirl here. And that's pretty much it. It's a repetition of these strokes that will give us this pretty flower. Oh, and then obviously the color as well, right? So practice this along. all around. Try and make it, I guess, as you're practicing, make it a circular pattern. So we kind of get to our flower. And this way you have an idea of what it looks like. Now you can notice as I'm doing the lower part of the circle, I'm starting from the inside out and just practicing away, just getting used to the water, getting used to the brush, the amount of pressure I'm using, all those lovely, lovely things. And then I'm really loosening up right now by just adding a couple of loose strokes, trying to fill up the edges. And that's pretty much what the practice should entail when you're practicing. So once you're comfortable enough, you can, I'd say pause for now, practice, and then once you're comfortable, unpause and let's do the flower. Okay, so we're ready to do the flower. For this, I'm going to be using the number 8 to begin with. And then for the fillers all around that you see, I'll be using the number 6, just so I can get a thinner, smaller stroke. All right, so here we go. We're gonna go ahead and start. Now, before we actually start doing our strokes, what I wanna make sure that you're aware of is that this has got a center. So there's 2 ways to approach this. You can either take this brush, get a little bit off the carmine and do a little circle, like a dotted circle, so you know not to get your strokes in there. That's one way. Or you can just sort of wing it, do your petals, and very intentionally practicing to make sure that you're leaving ample enough room in the center. I'll leave that up to you. I'll do the first version just because I feel a lot of people are beginning and this would be helpful for them to see. So I'm getting some of the carmine on the tip of this brush, and I'm just gonna go ahead and create a little circle around here with dots. And it doesn't even have to be uniform. I just want this to be down here so we know exactly where this is. Dipping the tip of my brush in water. I'm just adding a light rendition on the outskirts, lighter rendition on the outskirts. And here we go. Now we can begin. I'm gonna do the petals just like I mentioned previously, from the outside in. There's one. And then giving it those nice twirls, leaving some white space in between as you are painting this. You can use the image as a reference. And if you notice, you'll see how as you're painting this along, when you touch the pink centers that we've laid out, you get a nice little bleed and blend going on, which is very, very nice. And then as I'm painting more, I'm getting a little bit of color, dipping the tip of my brush in water if I need more water, just to make sure the brush is nice and moist. All right, so we've done our first layer. And then the next thing we need to do is go ahead and, for this, I'm going to use the number 6 now. And I'm going to go ahead and create little strokes very similar to this in between. Don't forget to give the tips a nice little twirl or swirl. And I'm just going to get more color, and then we'll sort of do these light little strokes again to kind of make it look fuller. And this is also, by the way, the technique that I use for my dahlias. And if you're new to my channel and looking at this and thinking, I'm not quite sure if it looks that much different, you're right, it doesn't. But the whole point of a loose style of painting is making the colors speak for the element or the thing that you're painting and the end result of your artwork itself. It is also doing more with less strokes. So less is more, absolutely, in this case. And you're doing this for fun, and you're doing this to sort of learn and get accustomed to watercolor while you're creating something pretty. Because who says that you have to just keep on doing mundane, I guess, practice sheets without it looking like something you could frame or give to a friend or what have you, right? Okay, so now that we've done this, the next thing we're gonna do is just add the center. So for the center, I have kept my brush pen handy. And what I'm going to do is get some nice, well, we're going to do the carmine, like a nice thick sort of carmine dotted section around this. And then we're going to get some green. So we'll do a ring of the carmine and then a ring of the green. So the glass pen, if you've watched the previous video, you just sort of take your paint on your brush, and this is how I do it anyways, and then I just rub it against the ridges, and then it holds all the paint water. Now, mind you, I shouldn't be so carelessly holding it above my artwork here. It could just spill. And I would recommend just doing a little practice on the sheet before you actually take it to your actual drawing to see how it comes out, because sometimes you'll get a big blob if there's too much water on your glass pen. So that's good. I like how it looks, and we're going to go ahead and do these little tiny circles, dots, whatever you want to call it, all around, leaving, like, sporadically all around, leaving some white space here and there in between. We just want a nice ring of little carmine dots, and then we're going to go in, take out, wash off the carmine from this and get some green. And for the green, I'll just tell you exactly what you can mix to get that color in a moment, just as soon as this is done. I'm just kind of lightly dotting it so it looks like it's fading off at the edges. This also gets quite mesmerizing to do. You can get lost in the motion of creating these tiny little dots all around. Okay, that's that. And now I'm going to wash this off. So I'm just doing that. And this is where a paper towel comes in handy. Got some lying over here. And now we'll get some of the green. So I'm going to get some cadmium lemon. And it had some of the yellowish green on it. So that's what I'll be, okay, this looks too yellow to me. So what I'm going to do is mix it with a little bit of green that I had left over on my palette here. And this is perfect. So mix a little bit of yellow with the green and you should get the right amount, or like that nice young looking green or yellowish green. Sorry, greenish yellow. Okay, so wash that off. Let's get our practice sheet just to make sure it's going to transition well. Okay, perfect. This is great. And then we just go to the center here, and I'm just going to start adding these tiny little dots. Now, what I want to do with these dots is I think I'm going to leave it very far and few in between, and then go in with a darker green and just add it in the rest of these areas. And for that, I'm going to use the number 6, or my regular brush, really, is what I'm trying to say. So I'll get some of the darker green. I've got some on the side here, and I'm just going to go in and add, using like just the tip of this brush, because I don't want to get thick dots. Just a little bit. All right, and that's that. Perfect. I've washed off the color, and it doesn't have any water because I've sort of gone and added, dabbed this onto my paper towel. And I'm just kind of adding a couple of water dots in here, just to kind of lightly spread out the green. All right, so now that this is done, we're pretty much almost finished. The one thing that I would do to this is just add another layer of the orange or the coral to our session here, to our little bit here. So I'm getting some of the carmine onto my palette, getting some of the Titan mixed in to get that nice color. Pinkish orangey hue, beautiful. And now we're doing the same thing that we did the first time to get the flower started. And here we go. And remember the twirling and adding like a nice whimsical sort of dancing feel to it. And just being loose with your strokes. Do this all around. Don't paint, try and like save some of the white space that you've intentionally left in between. If you kind of tend to overlap some of it, that's okay. But I would suggest to try and have at least some of it still there. And this is actually what makes it really pop out, this final step of color, adding this color and layering. And now at this point you can even add a couple at the edge, just getting your leftover color and just adding a couple of strokes here and there. And there we go. We are done the Gerbera daisy. There we go. That's what it looks like. I do feel that the green turned out to be a tad bit darker, so I'm going to get some of that lemon with the green here and just add more of a, I don't need that much white space there, so all good. And now for the final bit, which is our stem. So I'm getting some of the green onto my brush, and we are going to do a nice thick stem. This flower doesn't seem to have any leaves here, so that makes our life a tad bit easier. And here we go. So I'm doing a nice thick stem first, and with the leftover green, and then I'm going to go ahead and get some of the color called green from my White Nights. I'm just going to add a dark stroke of green here next to it, going all the way down. So we get a nice beautiful blend from dark to light on our stroke here. And that is it. Here's what it looks like up close. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what you thought. I'm going to go ahead and do another one and make that a time lapse. So make sure you follow me on Instagram and check out the post over there. For those who are new to my channel, I put out videos like this on a regular basis. So if you've liked this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to share your work with me if you do end up doing this. Thanks so much for your time, guys, and we will chat very, very soon. Bye.